I get questions every day about my viewers trying new things. People always want to know the right gear to use, the right lights, the right settings, and I answer to the best of my ability. Every situation is different, but it can definitely help to have a starting point and a plan when using a new technique or new equipment. I do new things all the time. I'm always trying new equipment or new techniques. Here's the thing though. These days, I usually do them with myself as the model for Snapchick. But what do I do when I'm going to try something new with someone else as the subject? That adds a whole new layer of pressure. I was in that situation a couple weeks ago with someone in my studio. My hairdresser, Jay, asked me to take photos of his tattoos. He has a lot of them, and he's proud of them. And as well he should be, because they are impressive artwork. But I'd never really taken photos specifically of tattoos. I've taken portraits of people with tattoos, but the purpose was never to showcase the art. I love a challenge, so I dove right into this one. By the way, VIPs, make sure you log in at snapchick.com and watch your version of this video, where I give you additional insights and behind-the-scenes information throughout the video. If you aren't already at snapchick.com, you can find a link to the blog post in the description of this video. My initial thoughts were, what do I want the feel of the photos to be? What does Jay want the feel of the photos to be? He has tattoos on his arms, but also on his torso. How do I make photos of a half-naked dude not look cheesy? By that, I mean, I wanted to keep the focus on the art, not so much on Jay's body. He's never modeled before, so I need to make sure that I'm ready to guide him along. I want to make sure that the photos are true to life, in color and in perspective. I mean, it's art, and I not only want to showcase it to the best of my ability, I certainly don't want to misrepresent an artist's work. And of course, what equipment am I going to use? Let's talk through each of those. The first thing I did was talk to Jay about what he wanted. He was open to trying anything and basically just wanted me to do whatever I thought would create the best result. Pretty much right away, I was thinking low-key. So I showed him some photos from my body landscape shoot, and he was game, so that's what I planned for. Having examples of the types of photos that you're looking to achieve are always helpful when you're talking to your subject to set expectations and also to serve as a visual guide for them to keep in mind once the shooting actually begins. If you don't have examples, you can explain something to someone, but you'll never know what they're actually picturing in their head. I find that both verbal and visual communication is best. Next, I wondered about how to keep the photos PG rated. I knew it would be easy to make the photos look good. Jay's an attractive, well-built dude, but I wanted to be careful with them. The focus needed to be on the tattoos, not what's under them. So my plan was to do closely cropped shots of the tattoos and get creative with posing. I was also thinking that for the photos where I did include his face, maybe have him look away from the camera rather than looking at the viewer. During the shooting, I did end up getting a few where he was looking at me, and I was right. They ended up feeling more like sexy dude with his shirt off than look at these awesome tattoos. Jay hasn't modeled before or done any photos like this, so I knew that I would really need to guide him through posing. Be specific when you're directing your subject. For example, for this one, when I told him to look down, he looked at his stomach, and the photo didn't work. So I guided him to lift his chin, but keep his eyes down so we weren't looking at the top of his head. I also find it helpful to show the subject what I mean. Like in this one again, I literally showed him how to lift up his shirt and place his hands. Staying true to the art was of the utmost importance to me, meaning the color and detail of it. Jay definitely sees his tattoos as works of art. And that is what you need to keep in mind when doing this kind of photography. It's not that different from taking photos of someone's baby. If the person is proud of their tattoos enough to have photos taken of them, they're going to have an emotional attachment to them. And you as the photographer want to showcase them in the best light. It's a good idea to even ask the person what they see as the most important aspect or their favorite characteristic. Is it the color, the detail? I asked Jay if there was anything in particular he wanted me to capture and what his favorite part was. Also, I made darn sure to get the color temperature right, and when I provided images to him, on the occasion that I converted the image to monochrome or did something out of the ordinary, I always provided him with a natural color image as well. Equipment. How could I not talk about my equipment selection? The camera body and lens selection was largely based on the stuff that I just talked about with regard to creating an image that was a true reflection of the art. I needed a body and lens that would give me crisp, clear images so that I could capture the detail. I wanted a longer focal length so that I could back up and obtain a natural looking perspective, even on the close-up shots. And I used varying apertures so that I could control the depth of field for different effects. And then for lighting, I needed to be able to illuminate all of him for the more traditional portrait shots, where I was trying to capture the whole picture and how his tattoos are placed on him. I used a strobe for that with a shoot-through umbrella. And then I needed something more directed, where I could focus the light in one area. I used one of my little fluorescent continuous lights with the Morning Glory convertible softbox in the snoot position for that. So, even though I thought about all of these things before we started shooting, even though I planned it all out and practiced a bit beforehand, there were still surprises. There are always surprises. For me, it was that I underestimated how tall Jay really is. He's kind of a giant. I always have a step stool handy in the studio because, one, I'm kind of short, and two, sometimes I like to shoot from odd angles. But as soon as I started shooting, I had to go find another, taller step stool. A small problem, really, but when you do have any issue, don't make a big deal out of it. Because if you don't make a big deal out of it, they won't really know that something out of the ordinary happened. So that's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.